Hello and welcome to an exclusive hour-long programme with me, Alex Belfield, talking to two of my favourite people, the very lucky Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langford. How are you?
See, I told you there was somebody out there that likes us. We found
He's
him.
the one. Why is he lucky?
Well, he's lucky because he's with you.
Oh, Alex, thank you. He is. That's very true,
Yeah,
actually.
well, you should live with her, Alex. It's a different story. It's a different story. There's showbiz personas in real life. No, but I think we're pretty much on air what we are off air as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people put up this facade that they've got this perfect partnership and whatever. We just have the same partnership that everybody else has.
We argue a lot.
Yes, the worst personification of that was we had to appear on the Ant and Dec show, and we did this challenge called Beat the Boys, which was racing them around a track. And there's a clue in that title, Alex. It's called Beat the Boys. So it's about winning. So I organised a strategy to win this game, and it was very simple. I said to Ruth, the problem is when we go around this chicane, this track, people are inaccurate with their instructions. What they do is they say left a bit, right a bit. Now, I should point out that you're blindfolded at this stage. The person behind the steering wheel is blindfolded and the other partner is working the pedals, the accelerator and the brake. So you depend on your partner who can see their instructions, and to me they have to be precise. So I worked out a system. And I said, Ruth, what we do is we say 1:05, midday, 5 to 11, 10 to 10. Are you with me? So you turn the steering wheel, use it like the time on a clock, so down to 3:15. Perfect, precision. When just as we're about to go on this, Ruth says the following: I don't understand this. Do you want to say that bit?
I didn't say it in that stupid, whiny
voice. I don't
voice.
understand what you're talking about.
Everybody I've spoken to, whenever I say, he said 12 o'clock, 5 to 11, 1:05, have all gone, what? What's wrong? Look, on the it was good enough on the golden shot, left a bit, right a bit, fire, wasn't it? If you remember the golden
Ruth
shot.
started saying then, what do you mean 10 to 4, 10:15? I said, I didn't say 10, it's only 10 to 10, 5 to 11, midday, 1:05, precision. It's like pilots. It's like fighter pilots. They don't say bandits at 6:15. They say bandits at 6 o'clock high. 12 o'clock high. That's the way they talk. Bandits at 9 o'clock. That's the way they talk. So I said, all right, I will drive, and that was a bad idea. I changed the plan.
It's a very bad idea because A, he doesn't drive very well, and also, as everyone will have witnessed when they saw the film, that he was totally disorientated by being blindfolded. And every time I said left, he went right. When I said right, he went left.
No, because as we set out, she was then just supposed to not to follow the instructions, but give the instructions. So we go into the chicane, and I'm blindfolded, and Ruth says, down a bit, what way? Round a bit, left a bit, right a bit. I said, what is it, 1:05, 3:15? How much right is it? Well, it's just right.
And he was shouting like he is now.
And it was a disaster. We hit the cones and we were beaten by an almighty margin. We were beaten by 2 minutes or so by Ant and Dec.
Because I've had so many people after that saying to me, oh, that's just like me and my husband in the car. I laughed so much. We can't drive together. And the thing is, the more cross Eamonn got, the more I laughed. Because I'm really not very competitive, which made him even angrier.
Yeah.
Till eventually he pulled his blindfold off, swore at me, which they had to beep.
Do you think Ant and Dec aren't competitive? Do you think every week they take on each other in a challenge?
Well, I didn't notice any of them screaming
Beat
and
the
having
boys.
to be
That's what it's called. We were thumped.
There was me thinking that this was an entertainment fun programme that wasn't meant to take things too seriously. How wrong I was.
Well, that's the thing, you see. I didn't take it too seriously. Alex, you're right. I saw it for what it was. It's a bit of fun. Old Mr. Competitive Pants there.
It's like Christmas. We sit down, we get the children around, you get out a board game, and what do you want to do? You want to win. You want to beat your children, don't you? What is the point of having children if you can't be better at them in most things?
And humiliate them.
And show them what more knowledge you have. So no matter what we're playing, these sort of name the intro or Trivial Pursuit or whatever it happens to be, as soon as we get to the first question and I go, yes, I got that, and I say, everybody knows that, that's enough for Ruth. At that stage, Ruth says,
I say, oh, stop being so competitive, it's only a game.
I'm not playing if you're going to continue like
also,
this.
He's one of those,
she packs it in.
He's one of those really sarcastic people, said he'll pick out the card.
How many wives did Henry VIII have? And if I said, 6, and I said the answer is 6, I said, well, everybody knows that. Ruth would go, no. Why does everybody have to know that?
But he's one of those really annoying people. You know, as he gets the card, before he's asked the question, he goes, "Oh, this is so easy. Oh, if you don't get this, you must be really stupid." And you know that you just know what's coming, don't you? I'm not going to get it.
That's the tactics. That's me winding you up, which I can do very, very easily.
That's true.
You know, it's funny. When I was going to start this interview, I was going to describe you as the thinking man's Richard and Judy. I'm not going to go with that anymore after hearing that last 10 minutes.
Oh no, we're more like the Clampetts or something. We are the Beverly Hillbillies. We are more like, yeah.
I think that's what keeps it exciting, you see. Actually, we met Cleo Lane and Johnny Dankworth, who've been married for 50 years, and they did nothing but bicker, but also laughed, you see. And I think that if you've got the laughter there as well, which we do have, darling, don't we?
We do. We laugh a lot in the bedroom, we do.
I do anyway, yeah. I laugh a lot in the bedroom.
We'll get into that a bit later. Ruth, what's it like being with a man who, let's face it, is struggling and can't get work at the moment?
I know. Well, that's why I have to go out to work, Alex, you see, because left to Eamonn, we'd be on the streets and penniless. It's actually a myth that he works all the time. I think what happens is sometimes he's done programmes that might have been recorded, and they're sometimes shown at the same time that he might be doing another live show. So there is this kind of misapprehension that Eamonn is, works 7 days a week. He's not.
I've spotted a gap in the market, basically. That's what it is.
I quite like it. It gets him out of the house.
I just do it cheaper than anybody else. That's really...
I mean, you really have mastered the art of being taken seriously and being funny at the same time. There aren't many people who could do a serious news programme for 3 hours in the morning and then come straight to this morning to be fun and entertaining and the housewife's favourite.
Well, that's very kind of you to say that, and I do see that as something, as a mission. Television is the most easy way to make your living that there could ever possibly be, and it's full of people who want to make it difficult. And it's true, and it's full of people who try and make out they are some sort of superior being. We're on television, therefore we're superior to you people who are watching us. I'm not. I am just very, very lucky, and I'm laughing at it the whole way through. Now, you because it's news, why can't you laugh at news sometimes instead of doing it in that sort of way that often people do it? It's like your embarrassing uncle dancing at the wedding or whatever, and they say, "And now for a funny bit on the news." Or people who read the sport. People who read the sport say, "In cricket, England were beaten in the test today," and they're smiling. I want to slap them. You want to slap them. There's a time to laugh or there's a time to smile, but sport isn't funny. Sport's very serious. I don't see sport as a place to be funny. Or the weather. Why do people laugh when they do the weather? Oh, the weather, what a drill, whatever. But there are other things. Why can't we laugh at politics? I mean, that's the funniest of the lot, that is. Why don't we laugh at that instead of sport? But I do think that the reason people don't laugh at a lot of items is they don't have the confidence to laugh.
You are very... Eamonn is very audacious. He's very cheeky, mischievous. And, there are things that he says. He asked Cleo Lane if it was her own hair. You asked her if it was her own hair.
Well, people want to know that. People are looking at Cleo Lane and they're saying, she's had that hair for years. Is that hers? Is that out of a box? But it looks different.
But that's why Eamonn's so brilliant, because I would probably be thinking that, but I think, I can't ask that. I might offend her. But he asks it, and he's just kind of got that Irish charm that he gets away with things that some of us...
I don't mean it in a wicked way. I do mean it just in a curious way. And I'm genuinely, I am a nosy person, and I am curious, and there would be no point doing the job that I do if you weren't nosy about people, and again in a nice way. I mean, as a journalist, I couldn't be a horrible, wicked, person that sort of goes through people's bins and picks the most horrible things about people. That's not the type of journalism I want. People know if you're asking them a tough question, or if you're being judgmental with them, or if you're on their side or whatever. And I'm interested in my job, and I like doing it.
Most journalists, when things go wrong, like the auto cue, they fall to the floor and don't know how to react. Whereas you, because of the other skill, just put your hands up and go, all right, and get out of it, which is much more comfortable for the viewer.
I absolutely agree with you. I think you've got to stand up, and it's this whole discussion about transparency now in broadcasting, whether you go with viewers' votes and name the cat or the dog the name that the viewers have decided, or you make one up for fun or whatever. And you've got to get these things in perspective. There is a difference between doing something like that or making a mistake like that, not that I'm condoning that at all, and stealing money out of people's purses and wallets the way GMTV did through their their phone-in scam, and you've got to get these things in proportion.
That's nice, isn't it? When you've got Richard and Judy, you've got Philip and Fern, and Eamonn and Ruth. Everybody knows exactly who you are. That doesn't happen to many people in show business.
Yeah, ER, we're like royalty. But we're doing this together and working together, and we're lucky because we are only the sort of holiday stand-in for Philip and Fern, so we do the summer and the half terms and that sort of thing, and quite frankly that is enough. That's the way you want to do it. It's given us huge respect for Richard and Judy, who would have to do this all the time and then go home and live with each other as a result.
There's a big difference, but co-presenting is hard enough
to
kind of chemistry. And you look at Fern and Philip, and they got this great chemistry as mates. But you have to kind of grow that chemistry, don't you, within its friends.
See, but I don't believe you with chemistry. See, I think chemistry, by and large, is false. By and large, it's just things that producers would like everybody to think happens. I don't care who you are in television. No twosome in the regions, nationally, wherever, get on all the time. They don't. But in the world of media land, you have to pretend they get on all the time. The nice thing about working with your partner is you don't have to pretend you get on all the time.
What I was going to say was that thank you, before you took over
just
completely.
My theory. Just my theory.
Like he always does. Is that you don't have to create that chemistry, it's there. But it's interesting, the kind of other side of that coin is that there are things you'd say to your partner you would never say to your co-presenter, who isn't your partner. So, I'm sure I must ask questions that Philip doesn't agree with or thinks are a bit stupid. He wouldn't say, and likewise I wouldn't to him. Eamonn, the minute we come off something, he'll go, "Why did you ask that? What a stupid question!"
No, that isn't. No, you've just made that. No, sorry. You see, well, I'm quite offended with that. When have I ever said you've asked a stupid question?
Darling, you have.
Well, that's a lie. You know you're lying now. You know to look at her face. She's just made that up, and she's trying to.
And he said to me the other day in front of everyone, "Have a mint to your breath." He pointed at me.
Your normal co-presenter wouldn't say things like that. Well, all I ever am, I'm constructive with you in terms of interviewing.
That's what it is.
I get the feeling when you go home, does he train you how to be a better interviewer, journalist, and person generally?
Well, actually, he does, because he's the most fantastic journalist interviewer. No, seriously, I am being. Can I be serious now? This is honestly true.
Don't be nice about him. He's just sat here insulting you for the last 20 minutes.
Nice about him,
build her up all the time.
I am
that's the myth.
I do learn an awful lot from working with him, because I do think he is a superb broadcaster. I watch and learn, and there are things, interviews that we do, I think, I wish I'd have thought of that ending, or wish I'd thought of that question. So I do learn a lot from him, and if he wasn't my partner, I would work happily with him and we'd never have a crossword because I think he's fantastic and brilliant at his job. All we argue about is the kind of things that other couples argue about all the time, or say, "I don't like that shirt on you, why did you wear that, you look fat," or
and you also have got to accept that different people do things different ways. Ruth and I are just completely different types of broadcasters, so I would never try to impose the way I do on her. If she ever asked me for guidance, I would give her guidance, but you can't impose anything on Ruth, because Ruth doesn't like being told to do anything. Is that fair enough?
That's absolutely 100% correct.
Marvellous, we agree on something. My perception is, and I know nothing about anything, is that you've either got it or you haven't with TV and radio probably. You've either got an interest in people and an ability to communicate naturally, or you're one of those people that needs a list of questions. And I do see it on all different programmes.
But to be fair, I would always have, if you came and looked at my script, I don't have questions, but I might have bullet points just to remind me. So I can look down and go 50th anniversary, new CD, daughters in hospital or something, just to remind you. It doesn't mean you've written a question. We certainly don't have questions written for us on This Morning, and it is very much a conversation.
You have to budget in fear. You see, fear. Once you go into studio and you get panicky and your heart rate rises and your mouth dries and some things go wrong and the running order's changing, that's when you forget. Also age, when you get to my stage, you forget. I forget people's names all the time. I do have to write out people's names, Alex, sorry, at the top of the page. So sometimes you've got to budget in the fear factor as well. So it's good to put points down, but I think as well, if you are genuinely, I watch and read everything. Again, Ruth and I would be different from this. She would say to me, "What are you watching that old black and white documentary for? What are you reading that for? What are you doing that for?" But I find the more knowledge that I absorb, the easier my job is. And I think you would see that. Because you'd say to me after something, how did you know that? How did you know? And I don't know how I know it. I know it from somewhere. But
we are very different because, I read all the briefs and I do all my homework and things because I think, to me, I feel informed. Whether I use any of that or even go, but, I've read, they started out in theatre and they did this, and Eamonn will come straight in with a much more kind of current question. But I feel happier that I know the other stuff if it came up. Half the time
I would look at the other stuff and say you don't need to know all that. So what you need to know is what this person is doing this week or where they're at the moment. And so it's different ways of approaching it. But the lovely thing about having a partner who approaches things in a different way that you do is when you have an off day, they're in there to fill the gap. And and hopefully that's what it's about at the end of the day.
It's like kind of driving the car and sometimes you take a back seat.
Let's not go back there again. Let's not get into that.
We can't. We're so bad in the car together. When we're doing this morning, we can't share a car. So we're coming from the same house. We did it once. It's honestly true. We did it once, and Eamonn said to me, "What time do we have to leave?" And I said, 7:15. He went, "What? That's too early." I said, "Look, 7:15, 7 o'clock at the absolute latest, Eamonn. I need to be there for 8. 7 o'clock. I'm pacing around down in the hall, thinking, where is he? Went up. He's in the bath. Actually, still in the bath. So of course I go mad. We have a row. Get into the car. He wants the air conditioning on at -30. He's got that talk sport radio.
Radio 5 on.
Yes.
I listen to the news and sport.
And I
you
like
want to
quiet because I'm reading my briefs as I do. It was a disaster, absolute disaster. And I said never again. So we come in separate cars now.
It's amazing how you're even still together, isn't it?
No.
Two things you said from that last conversation about the interviewing side. I think it's a great skill to have an earpiece, a producer, a stage manager, 16 cameras looking in the right one, and not be distracted and make it look as if the only person around you is the person you're interviewing.
I didn't find it easy to start with. When I was, very, very young, I was a newsreader when I started. I found that very distracting. But eventually you get used to it. Now I couldn't do without it. I have what we call open talkback, so you hear everything in the gallery. Because to me, you are then across a problem before it happens. So if I'm talking to somebody, interviewing them, and I know we're coming to a piece of film, and then I hear them going, roll VT5. Hello, VT5, where are you, VT5? Oh my God, VT5's not there. You hear this kind of panic start. There's obviously a problem with that. I better slow down here, have another question ready. So you kind of preempt problems, and you're across everybody. You can hear the camera instructions. And I always say, a lot of women particularly say, oh, I couldn't stand that. And I say to women, listen, I bet you can sit at a dinner party at one end of the table talking to somebody and your husband's at the other with a very attractive blonde, and you're looking like you're completely attentive to this man who's boring you to death at one end, and when you get into the car you say to your husband, I heard you saying to that girl how nice you thought her dress was, because women you can hear another conversation. So that's all it's like. Or if you're on the phone and somebody else is talking to you, so you just kind of get used to it, really.
Did you ever speak to this blonde lady again, Eamonn?
I learned my lesson. Once bitten, twice shy.